Hey, how you doing? This is Dr. Taylor. Um, so I know there's been a lot going on with the news. Every time we turn on the internet, we see something going on. I thought it was important that we touch on the fact that we all may have a story to tell in America. This is without the cameras. I'm sure there's a lot of us out there that have stories that we could tell that don't require or didn't have a camera. I was brought up in the 60s. I think it was important for me, and it's actually important till this day for everyone to empower themselves and to educate themselves and to gain knowledge. But just a little bit about my background real quick. I thought it was important because they said we couldn't have an education. My ancestors weren't able to, read and write and get an opportunity to have an education. So I think that really stuck in my head that it was important for me to get an education just because they said we couldn't have it. And we know who they are. So I went on to college, graduated at 15, out of high school, almost 16. Went on to college, got 2 associate degrees, a bachelor's, 2 master's in science and psychology, an MBA with concentration in leadership. And I thought, I'm going to go a step forward. And so I got my PSYD doctorate in psychology. And if I can continue on, that's fine because knowledge is power. And I think it's important that we empower ourselves and we educate ourselves. And I say that because we're dealing with a lot of racism in America in 2020, and it really shouldn't be. And I say that because I was going to share my story. We all have a story. Share your story. And I think that this story is probably one of the most scariest times of my life, literally. It was it's kind of during that time, there was a black kid who was handcuffed from behind, put in the back of a police car, and then allegedly he tried to grab the cop's gun. They shot him somewhere in Little Rock, Arkansas, I believe. And I talk about that scene because myself, my son, at the time was about 18, 19, and my daughter and his girlfriend, we decided to go on a cross-country road trip. So we all got in I rented a car, and we drove from California when we were heading to North Carolina. We went through a lot on the way, just getting to, trying to get to where we were trying to go. We stopped in Kansas City, and I think that's probably the first time my daughter experienced racism. She was just trying to simply get gas, and the cashier in there wouldn't take her money. And I realized and I noticed that, and I said, hey, he's not taking your money because he doesn't want to take money from your hand. You have to put the money on the corner. So on the counter, I mean. So they're willing to take your money, but they don't like you. So we needed gas, and we needed to continue on our journey. So my daughter put the money on the counter. He took the money, and he literally threw the money back at her, just on the counter as just, get your money and go. And I think that's, probably a time when she was surprised, like, why is he acting like that? Because, California is very diversified. There's racism everywhere, but, it was quite prevalent in Kansas en route to our destination. So we got back on the road, and as we traveled, we were singing gospel music and just enjoying our time on the road and traveling. And the cops pulled us over. The sirens were in the back. Cops pulled us over. We didn't know why. We were in Little Rock, Arkansas. And so we were getting off the freeway, and the cop, when the siren said, keep driving, I'll tell you where to get off at. And so we were getting off the freeway, and there was like a bridge, and he was like, go under the bridge. And I thought, okay, what? I thought that was a little weird, but I didn't understand why we needed to go under a bridge. Why can't we just pull over right here? But I don't know if it was, at that time, I just didn't know what it was about safety or what. So we pulled over underneath the bridge. The cop got out of the car, and he came to the car. Even talking about it kind of just makes me nervous thinking about it still. He came to the car, and the first thing he said was, this vehicle is stolen. This is a stolen vehicle. And I was trying to tell the officer the vehicle wasn't stolen. We'd just driven all the way from California, almost 1,500 miles, We were tired, exhausted. And here we are being accused of a vehicle being stolen. I tried to tell him that the car was a rental car. And he said, no, it's not. I don't want to see it. I don't want to hear it. The car is a stolen vehicle. This is a stolen vehicle. So he told my son to get out of the car. Now, I don't sweat from my head. But that was the first time in my life I had literally sweat coming down my head in fear. And my heart was probably pounding out of my chest because he never really he pulled us over for a stolen vehicle, allegedly, that wasn't stolen because we rented the car to make it to our destination. And I thought to myself, this is going rogue. This is not good for this cop to be allegedly claiming that this vehicle is stolen and demanding that my son get out of the car. So my son got out of the car, and we all literally was just frozen because scared to death. And I was scared to death for my son. And I thought I was going to have a freaking anxiety attack or a panic attack or heart attack because my heart was beating so fast. And the cop told us, we better not turn around and look back. I thought, okay, that's really scary. And I said, officer, please, may I talk? He said, no, shut up. I don't want to hear nothing. This is a stolen vehicle. And he grabbed my son and proceeded to take my son back toward the patrol car and dared us and threatened us not to turn around and any of us to look back. Okay, this is my son we're talking about, my son's life. And it scared me to death. The car wasn't stolen. He didn't want to listen. At that point, I had to think. I had to think quick because I didn't know what they were going to do to my son. I felt their intentions wasn't good, especially to be accused of something that wasn't true starting off. And I said, and I had to think. And I don't know, God, intervened and said, Kayla, you're an officer in the United States military. At the time, I was in the reserves. I believe I just gotten out actually, but I still had my military ID, and I was a second lieutenant in the United States military reserve unit. And I had to think because this officer didn't want to believe anything, and I said, "Officer, I'm not turning around, but I wanted to let you know that I am a lieutenant in the United States military, and that we are on our way to, I don't know, I thought of some base that was nearby because I had to get this officer, for whatever his intentions were, to listen to me because he wasn't trying to listen to nothing other than the car was stolen. Immediately, the dynamics of everything changed. Immediately, I said, I can prove to you that I am a lieutenant, so he literally made my son stopped at a halt. He ran back and said, let me see. So I showed him my military ID, that I was a second lieutenant. And I had to lie just to get this officer to see truth. At that point, he was willing to see where I showed him on my phone that we rented the car. I think it was Hertz Rental or something, rental car. And that it was a legit rental car that we were driving. But he wasn't trying to hear that. He had a different agenda. But the moment I say, oh, I'm a lieutenant, higher ranking than possibly you are because you're a sergeant and you're being racist and you're accusing us of stealing a vehicle that we didn't steal, that I had to find a way to save my son. So the cop at that point, he was like, oh, okay. He went and got my son and brought him back. Oh, in my mind, I'm thinking, let's talk about the psychology of this. He doesn't want any beef with the federal government. He thinks I'm heading off to, a nearest military base, and they're expecting me, because I said they're expecting me. We're running late, I just wanted to show you that this car isn't stolen, and you weren't willing to listen, Oh, they don't want any beef with the federal government. They don't want the federal government investigating them, asking what happened to this individual. They were on their way, whatever the case may be. But I think at that time, phone just wasn't, really using your phones wasn't as much as it is now. It's discovery. Probably didn't think about it because they're just traumatized by the whole scene. Everything changed. He was, all of a sudden now, okay, you can go now. Had him get in the car. And the thing is that where was this going? Where was it going to go had I not tried to think of a way to save my son? You threatened us. You dared us not to turn around and look back. You took my son because you said the car was stolen and it wasn't. You didn't want to listen to whether it was a rental or not. It wasn't until I had to tell you, which was the truth, that I wasn't in the military before. I did have a military ID, but I had to say that I'm going to some base that people were waiting for me in order to get my son freed for whatever your thoughts were at the time, or whatever you were planning to do wrongfully, just so that we can go. So I can have my son back. Now that's fear. That's abuse of power. We have a lot of good cops and we have a lot of bad cops. We have those who have infiltrated law enforcement under false pretense. Their intentions are not good when it comes to Black people. Pulling me over for a traffic ticket or whatever, that's fine. But to pull me over and claim the car is stolen, literally said it was a stolen car. I mean, wasn't trying to hear it. Threatened us, told us we better not turn around, look back, and text my son for what? So that, you can put him in the back of your car and handcuff him and claim he tried to grab your gun and shoot him. I don't know. Because you started off with a lie. So when you start off with a lie, that means I need to protect my son because I don't know what your intentions are. This I will never forget. And I literally, when I travel across the country, I don't even like going through Little Rock, Arkansas. I hope that, they've got a better police force now. But these are the things that Black, any minority may have to deal with when you're dealing with cops that are rogue or that are not really trying to uphold the law righteously. These are the things you have to deal with. And I think it's really sad that the only way that we can get solace, or the only way that we can get justice, is through discovery by videotaping. And I think it's good that we can do that. But it's sad that we don't have a voice and that we're not believed if we didn't have a tape. It's my word against yours. And who are they going to believe? We all know that. So it's like we have to prove our innocence all the time. You always have to prove our innocence. We always got to put, a camera up to prove our innocence, to free ourselves. Because somebody else is going to be believed over us, although we're telling the truth. Just another short incident. Gosh, I think this was, maybe about 10 years ago. I was on my way to a family reunion. I had just bought a Mustang convertible drop top. My girlfriend, I had my 2 kids in the back. We was on our way to a family reunion. Never made it. Got stopped in Modesto by a cop because my daughter let a McDonald's bag fly out the car. It was a mistake. And he could have charged us for littering, which, if that's what he wanted to do. But no, he pulled us over. He asked for a license, registration. I gave him license, registration. I gave him everything. And ironically, at that time, I think I was working for the Department of Motor Vehicles. And I tried to tell him what was his reason for pulling us over. And he didn't even say anything about the paper flying out of the car. He just told me to give me the keys to your car. And it never explained why. Demanded the keys to the car. He said he was going to have it impounded. So I literally gave him the keys to my car. I said, okay. And then he called to have the car impounded. Now, we were on a freeway. And going through Modesto, there was no where generally cars can pull over and fix tires. There was none of that. This was an area where you can't pull over. That cop literally took my car with no justification, didn't explain why, and left myself and my girlfriend and my son, who was at the time 6, I think my daughter was 4, on a freeway with no medium to pull over. Very dangerous. We had about 2 miles to go, about 900 degrees outside to the next exit. We argued with the cop, and he literally was threatening to throw us in jail for no reason. Because I told him I had a legitimate license, I had registration, everything. Why are you taking the car? I just took the car. So we prayed that we can get off the freeway safely because there's nowhere to walk. Cars passing us, honking, and like, what is wrong with you guys being out? Dangerous. There was another cop. Literally, she pulled up, seen us walking. She pulled over, She let us get in the car. She took us, and if she's watching, she knows the story. She took us to the next exit. But before she got before we got out of that car, she told us that that cop was racist, and he shouldn't have did that. But yet he's still working for the force. It's almost like a blind eye, and the people are just turning their heads and not paying attention to the good cop and the bad cop, like some code. It's okay. No, it's not okay. We were left on the middle of the road, and he took my car. Our car was impounded for a whole weekend. I had to wait until Sunday to get my car. I never got a ticket. Nothing. Just had to go pick up my car. Just took it. I don't know if it was just jealous. I don't know. Just being an evil, bad day. I don't know. But these are the things that we have to go through in life. The struggles. I didn't videotape it. I should have. But the thing is that we shouldn't have to do that. We should be able to have a voice without having to videotape our innocence. I mean, there's a couple other instances, but I'm not going to keep getting it because we all have a story to tell. We all have something to tell. We all have something to say. We all have something that we've been affected and impacted by that we didn't videotape. So can you imagine how many people out there have been through brutality, that have been abused, falsely imprisoned? A lot. A lot. The system is broken on many levels. Many levels. From prison reform to just being able to go outside and jog, literally. If you have a story to tell, tell your story. Share your story. This is Dr. Taylor. This is still America. Nobody is above the law. We all have a right to live in equality. We all have a right to live freely. We all have a right to breathe, literally. Nobody owns nothing in this world. We came in from dust and we will leave from dust. You don't own nothing. You're just borrowing everything that we have, even the money that rotates, because when we leave, we can't take none of it with us. So allow everyone, no matter what color and race you are, to live in equality, to live a free life while we have this life. And we're dealing with a lot of things going on, even the pandemic with this coronavirus that's going around. This is a broken system, a broken world right now that we live in. Everybody just wants to live in peace and harmony. There shouldn't be a reason to have hatred because of somebody's skin color. I think that's the most ludicrous, ridiculous thing ever. And even to think about slavery, it's disgusting and insane. People who worked hard and they were enslaved while others enjoyed the riches, even until this day. That's injustice. There's never been any reparations. And it's been a struggle for many to come out of that struggle because of how it started. So stand up for what you believe in a positive way, without rioting. It's not necessary. And I think it's awful that we have to march, really, in 2020.